Hi friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are in for a little bit of a longer video because this is going to be a really fun scene card with lots of coloring, and I wanted to leave in as much detail as possible for you. So I'm starting out by stamping this main dragon image. This is from Sweet November Stamps. The set is called Full of Wonder, and it's so stinking cute. This came out with their new summer release. This set has this amazing little dragon, this dragonfly that I'm using. I think there's actually a second dragonfly too, and then the sentiment that we're going to be using. So I'm setting up my scene with them first, and I colored this in a little bit of a different order than I normally would because this was my sneak peek card or my sneak peek coloring for this release as part of the design team. So I'm coloring the dragon and dragonfly first, then we'll stamp and color the rest of the scene, where normally I would have stamped everything first and then colored everything all together. So like I said, though, this is going to be a longer video. If you need to pause and go get like a drink or a snack, or let this play while you're doing dishes, that's what I usually do when I'm watching YouTube. I try to put it on and then run around and get other stuff done or make a card. So maybe we're making a card together right now. I haven't been great about posting lately, so I hope that you enjoy this one. And if you've missed me, maybe having a little bit of a longer video is okay. Life has just been a little crazy lately, a little extra stressful. And unfortunately, if something has to get pushed right now, the only thing I can push is my videos and like some of my cards, which is the last thing that I want to do, but that's just life sometimes. But I have this card ready to go, this video ready to go for this weekend. I already have next weekend's card video filmed and halfway edited. So hopefully this will mean I can get back on track. I also, have off for 4th of July. And while, I'm going to be spending most of that time with my family, just having some extra time off here and there helps my mental well-being so that it's easier for me to get more stuff done. So I am coloring my dragon in with these beautiful teals. I brought in the BG99, which is a little more green than teal in my opinion, but it gives a really nice, beautiful shadow, a nice depth to the shading that we're doing, and a really strong contrast, which is what I was looking for. So BG99 on the areas of the face that are going to be shadowed. So like under that lip, on the inside of the ears, over the bridge of the nose. And then I'm doing the same thing on the body. So anywhere, where there's space, where one body part is hanging over or touching another, that's going to get it. I forgot this front left foot though. Sorry, front right foot. So ignore that part. And I'm going to leave the whole chest and the inside of the wings white for now because they're going to end up purple or like a BV. So once I had my BG99 laid down, I went in with BG49 because I wanted this to be really saturated, and I knew my 70s were going to be a little more gray and a little more muted. So I went with that 49, and then I jumped to BG07, which you can see is a lot more blue than green. It's really funny seeing how all of these different markers kind of play off each other, especially for the like hybrid colors, right? Like BV, BG, even YRs, seeing how much Y versus R or how much B versus G just in between markers that you would think would go really easily together is just so funny. So I went over everything with that BG23, and that's going to bring that teal kind of back to life. Then I went back in with my BG99 and added some little freckles. I love doing this with my dragons and mermaids. I think it's just so cute. And it just kind of gives them a little extra character, a little extra detail that I think, I don't know, just makes them feel like mine. So I shaded in the wings. I got that front foot taken care of. We're adding shading to that tail that's kind of wrapping up behind him. And then we will start in with those BV markers. So BV08 is my deepest shade I'm starting with. And I'm going to do that under the chin, kind of along the outer edges, and definitely heavier from the bottom section in between those feet. And then for the wings, it's going to be darkest up at the top where kind of the arm of that wing is, and then pulling that color down along the separations in that wing. Again, just kind of emphasizing that texture. And this time, to balance out forgetting that front right foot, now I'm forgetting to color in the left wing, because apparently that's just the mind space I was in. So I added my BVs into that wing, and the tail little, I don't know, are those spikes? We'll just say they're tail spikes. He's got little spikes that go from his nose all the way down his back and up his tail. So we're adding in those same BV colors over there. This combination just turned out so beautiful, and I love the teal and the purple together. But I did want to add one more area of like pop and high contrast. So I decided to bring in some YRs for his eyes and those horns. I just thought that that extra warmth would kind of pop, and the yellow would play really nicely with that teal and that purple. So I'm going to bring in some really soft YRs for those. Definitely more on the golden side versus like an orange. And then I colored in the dragonfly to match. Now I'm going to create my mask. So I already, now at this point in the steps, I took the picture that I needed for my sneak peek. And then I stamped my image onto some full stick Post-it notes that I had to layer to make sure they were long enough. And I fussy cut out my dragon and my dragonfly. So we're going to get them covered up, and then I can start stamping in my background. So this background set came out with the Sweet November spring release. This is the Meadow Fields, right? Wildflower Meadow. That's what it's called. The Wildflower Meadow set. So I'm adding that full meadow landscape across the back, and then these two little flower beds up closer to the front. I do think the way that this is drawn, it was meant to be a little ambiguous, so you can make the kind of area to the right of our card be either water or like a little valley. So I left it grass and made it into a little valley, but I saw other people making it water, and that was so cute. I originally wanted this sky to look very light and sunshiny and summery, and I just didn't feel like I had enough space, and I was really worried that this was going to turn super green. So I just went in heavier on the edges with my, I'll double check, but I think that's Salvage Patina ink on the sky. So it's darker on the bottom edge and kind of lighter as it goes up. But the problem with that is that how it looked when I peeled everything off, it looked more of like a ominous blue cloudy sky, and it didn't give that bright summery feeling that I was hoping for. I did take a little Copic marker, a little BG all the way around the edges so that anywhere that I missed with my fussy cutting not being perfect kind of blends right into that Salvage Patina. Then I started out with the ground because it felt like the easiest place to start. I didn't have to really think about colors. I didn't have to make any tough choices. I just added the brown. So I'm starting with my E59, and I'm shading in my the shadow under my dragon, and then pulling in color from either edge of this little walkway, this little dirt path that he's sitting on. And then I'm going to blend that out with E57, kind of pulling that color out from under him as well as in from the outer edges and along that little front flower bed where the flowers would be hanging over and creating a shadow as well. And then just kind of the ground also always feels easier because it doesn't have to be super smooth. It just feels like there's less pressure there. So I'm filling in the rest of the space with that E55. This marker desperately needed to be filled. So slightly ignore the amount of time it took for me to blend this and how many layers I'm doing over and over. That's just because my marker was too dry. Don't let your markers get that dry. I also added that same dirt color to the kind of exposed wall that's next to this little valley / water. And then I finally felt good at a good point to start picking greens. So to help make this as summery and light as possible, I went with YGs for all of my greens. So I'm starting with my YG17 kind of on these taller trees. If you heard that flap, that was my dog shaking her head. So YG17 on those trees, just adding in those shading marks, kind of just following the artist drawn lines here, thickening that up with YG25. And when I see my markers and my shading and my colors coming together, I just generally associate my YGs with a lighter summery or springtime kind of feeling. So that's why I picked those to help lean this as summery as possible, since my sky didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. So I also brought in some YG, I believe it was 23 and 21. That really helps kind of bring some sunshine into this. And then I used the same colors, kind of creating a shadow along the line of that exposed dirt or earth, and then pulling that all the way out and creating some shadow under these little like flower bushes that are in this little scene on the side here. They're kind of sitting up higher, but I'm going to be adding in pink and yellow to those flower beds in a minute. So I really wanted that deeper, not that it's that dark, but that deeper green to kind of emphasize and ground them a little bit. I made sure to carry some of that color in between my dragon's wings and from both edges so that it just looks really nice and there's good continuity there. This card did take me a couple days to make. So there was a little bit of a gap between stamping and coloring the dragon and then coming back. So I just also feel like I should be open about that too, because I feel like a lot of times people see, scene cards completed and it might be easy to be like, man, they're able to just sit down for an hour, 2 hours, or however long it takes someone. But I don't have time for that, or like I don't have the energy or interest in sitting and doing that for that long. You don't have to do it for that long if you don't want to. You can do it in batches. You can do whatever you want. It's your card. So I took a couple days off in between to kind of get my head into a space where I felt really confident in making my color choices. I didn't know if I wanted these pink and yellow. The idea of coloring them in that moment felt really overwhelming. But when I came back to it a couple days later and started out fresh, it did not seem that hard. And it did not take that long to do this part of the scene. So I'm filling in all of the areas between the flowers with my YG05 just to kind of create a base. Then I'll go back in with a little bit of my YG07, and that will start kind of giving a little more shadow in between some of the larger flowers just to kind of start breaking it up. I didn't want it to just look like a sea of green in there. I wanted there to be some texture. And then to really emphasize that, I brought in YG09 to kind of add some color to the leaves and the stems that are actually drawn instead of just the spaces that are kind of in between the lines. I swear I haven't been stuffy all day. I am pretty sure that I'm allergic to dip polish. So if you've been here for a while, you might remember that I was doing my nails with gel like at home, and I got an allergy to the gel and my nails got real crazy, and then they healed, and I tried dip polish, like the powder, and I got dip flu, which is like you get stuffy and stuff, And I tried a different brand and waited like a couple months between doing it. And I tried it yesterday. And I thought that I escaped dip flu. But now as I sit here getting ready to do this voiceover, I'm feeling stuffy and my voice seems cracky. And I swear I didn't feel like this all day. So I don't know what that is. It could be allergies. It could be dip flu. But I already took the polish back off. So hopefully my next voiceover won't sound like this. But yeah, so I went back in with those really cheery RV markers and my bright Y markers, kind of going with the Y35. I'll bring in some Y19 here in a couple minutes. But I just thought that adding in the pink and the green and keeping everything really bright and light would help to, again, bring this more to like a summer feeling or even spring feeling, and make that sky look less gloomy and a little more cheerful. If I could do the sky over again, I probably would have just done the whole thing like yellow and done more of like a sunset vibe or something. I don't know. But it's okay because the way it turned out and the color choices that I made, and I'll explain the paper choice that I make for the background matte and how I think that also pulls the whole thing more summery. So yeah, I think it's all fine. I think it's nice to see how you can kind of tweak the feeling of the card with some other decisions that you can make along the way. So this is me bringing in that Y19 for a little bit extra pop of yellow, just filling in kind of the centers and some of the smaller little flowers in this little field, adding a little extra RV23 because it felt like there was too much contrast. There wasn't enough blend between my RV markers that I was using. And then we are going to cut this out with the watercolor rectangles die from, or dies from My Favorite Things. I love this for this kind of scene because it gives me the feeling of like an old tattered map. The edges are just so fun. They're not quite like a deckled edge. It's a little bit bigger and choppier than that, and I love it. So here's what I'm talking about. When I'm picking out my paper, my first instinct was to go purple so that it matched the dragon. But to me, that felt a little more spring or a little more subdued. The bright yellow really helped wake that up for me and pull out all of that yellow in the grass. And it had enough contrast that it was going to pop. And it was so bright and cheery that I thought it just made the card feel also brighter and cheery. But I didn't love the amount of space that there was of like the yellow. It felt like the middle panel was just floating. So what I did was I trimmed down a piece of white cardstock so that it was just barely bigger than my die cut panel. I'm also going to go in and add a little bit of magic sparkle around my dragonfly with a white gel pen, just putting in a couple little kind of cross shapes like little sparkles and little white dots here and there. It's very subtle, but when you see it, when it's done, it kind of pulls everything together and gives it a little more of that whimsical, magical feel. And I use liquid glue to attach my colored scene to my white cardstock and added a couple more white dots. Then I'm going to go in with my favorite foam tape from Peak & Main, and we're going to pop up that panel onto my yellow cardstock. And my yellow cardstock is cut down to an A2 sized 5.5 by 4.25, so that this whole panel can just get popped right onto an A2 sized side folding card. And that is my little scene come to life. So thank you for sticking this out with me if you made it this far. I look so forward to seeing you guys soon. I hope you have an amazing week. And as always, happy crafting.